the 60s, Hull City, under the leadership of Cliff Britton and the financial backing of Chairman Harold Needler, set out to give Tigers supporters a team to be proud of. Though the ultimate prize of First Division football just eluded them, they entertained fans the length of the country, a breath of fresh air as they were allowed full rein to express their talents. The whole team of that period was packed with great stars and crowd favourites, but two in particular stand out in the hearts and memories of all Hull City fans. Ken Wagstaff and Chris Chilton. Ken and Chris arrived at Hull City from very different backgrounds. Country boy Chris, born in the small village of Sproatley, population 200, learnt his football kicking a stuffed pig's bladder around on the village green by day or under the lights of the local pub at night. In those days, the most dangerous hazard for children was the farmer's tractor or the return of bee swarms to the hive. In stark contrast, Ken Wagstaff was born into the close-knit mining community of Langworth North Notts. Back-to-backs and generals forced people to live on top of each other, and those fine ball skills were honed in street football. School for Ken was the local Langworth Junior, although it's been said that Ken's appearances were strictly limited. The football pitch alongside was where he learned the goal-scoring art, and after being spotted by Raish Carter, Ken signed for the Stags, Mansfield Town. School for Chris was in Sproatley, but the pitch where he polished his footballing technique has now long since been built over. But Chris, already playing in senior men's football at 14, had already found a great supporter in teammate Eric Grubb.
Yes, it was my pleasure to play with Chris when he was a 14-year-old schoolboy, and I spoke to Bob Brocklebank about him only because he was scoring goals at the rate of 50 a season, playing in First County Division of men's football, and I'd never seen any young man find so much space and have so much ability in the air to head a ball during all the years I'd played football. And it was a pleasure for me to see him go on and have such success at Hull City.
Chris was to make his debut at 17, a boy in a men's game. Waggy, by now, was also in first-team action, and he remembers those times vividly.
When Rage came along and watched me play, and I think I missed 2 penalties, and he signed me on for Mansfield, and I played with Peter Morris and Mike Stringfellow, and Rage played us all in the same team, all at 17 years old at Rochdale. No, I mean, I was called into Mansfield football ground, I forget what day it was. I know it was on November the 12th, I can't remember what day it was. And Joe Eaton said, I'll just come with a suit on. I said, well, I can't because I haven't got one. So, and then they brought me up through Doncaster. I thought I was going to Nottingham Forest because Nottingham Forest was after me, and Brentford. And he said, no, you're going to Hull City. And I met Mr. Needler and Cliff Britton, and I went in the Station Hotel. And so I decided, I went home and thought about it for about 12 hours, and I decided that I would come. So then that's how I came to Hull City.
Now the most formidable striking partnership outside the First Division was to begin. Let's hear what some of their contemporaries recall.
When I came back here as a player and played with Ken, on a couple of times. Yes, he was excellent. His goal scoring speaks for itself, and I would go along and say that if he'd have gone to a first division club, he would definitely played for England. He was as good as Greavesy. I've played against Greavesy and Dennis Laws and that, and after seeing Ken and playing with him, he was as good as them, easily as good as them.
Ken come from Mansfield, you know, which was a big fee in those days for £40,000. And as individuals, I've always maintained that Waggy was one of the best players I ever played with or against. That's my own individual opinion. If I'd have been picking one player to be in my side, it would have been Ken Wagstaff. He had tremendous skill. The great pity about Waggy was he never represented his country, for there were players in the game that couldn't have laced his boots, to be quite honest, and had many caps. Waggy, I always said, had an evil cunning to me inside the box. Never panicked, never ever lost control of himself inside the box, and was deadly when it came to the clinical finish.
Was it the fact that he played in the second division or for an unfashionable club that denied him a chance to play for his country?
I wouldn't know the reason, to be quite honest. It was always a bit baffling to me. Whether it was because he was in the second division, I wouldn't. But there were players in the second division picked to play for England, so I can't see that was the exact reason.
And I think, looking at it afterwards, being on the managerial side, I think Cliff Britton must have had a lot of offers for Ken Wagstaff to play in the first division. He turned them down to the benefit of Hull City. But yes, he could have played first division football, no doubt at all. He got so much ability, they were unbelievable. The only one person I saw played against was Jimmy Greaves, who I would say was on a par. And Jimmy Greaves, as you know, gets all the headlines of being the greatest goal scorer, but this fellow won't far behind. Terrific.
Now very quickly. They had this wonderful understanding, and they were very different. Waggy was a bit more devious, and I suppose Chris was immensely powerful, and they just were a wonderful combination.
And because you were working in the London area, you did get a chance to see Hull City on the travels.
Oh yeah. I mean, the great occasion when they played in London was when they played in the no, it wasn't the semi-final. It was well on in the cup when they played Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and they looked like being totally overrun, and Chelsea were all over them and winning 2-0. And I knew I was going to be struggling with my London friends after the game, but then Waggy popped up with 2, and it was 2-2, and it was a marvellous occasion. I went with my father.
Well, I'll be the first fella to sit, and I've said this not just for the benefit of this filming and video, but I think he's probably, at that particular time, he was probably one of the best goal scorers in the country, barring none. And how he never played for his country is beyond me. I just cannot understand, because he had so many qualities, and he was unique because he could turn a game just through his own ability or his own vision, and his tremendous attribute and his goal scoring record counts for that. You know, I mean, sometimes I would have a little go at him because I felt he probably wasn't doing his share of the graft, or he wasn't putting people under pressure, but at the end of the day we had a great rapport in the respect that we could say things to each other, but if we needed to, then we would link back together again, and the mind and the skill factor would come into operation, and we would turn teams inside out. But that was, and I think basically, if we could have put the two qualities of player, that's my assets and Ken's assets and his abilities, if you'd link those two together, I think you'd probably have had the perfect player in the sense of all the skills of the game, as well as a prolific goal-scoring machine. But that wasn't to be, so we made the best of our abilities, and I suppose at the end of the day, we finished up with a really quality double act.
Well, many things. His strength in the air and his bravery in the box, and his unselfishness with other players. He ran his legs off for all the other players.
Chillo, he used to make the runs in the side. I mean, I bet when Chris came off the pitch, he was absolutely shattered. Because he was the decoy. We used to call him the decoy, and he used to make runs for other people. And we'd got this system where Chillo would go to the near post, Whitegood goes to the far post, I would go just outside the box ready for a long shot. But this fella would run for miles, so unselfish, a very unselfish player. But his great ability, even though he was a big lad, he was very good on the ground, in the air, he was tremendous. And I think you've got to compare him at the time with such as Tony Aitley. Again, we've got all the headlines about being a great header of the ball. But Chillo, I would back him against anybody. Terrific. And Chillo and Wag, the combination of the different type of players what they were, what a good combination. And that's the reason what I'm saying about that it made our life just behind him a lot easier.
Chris Chilton was the perfect foil for Ken Wagstaff.
Chris was another good player, a very, very good player, Chris Chilton. Tremendous strength in the air, Chilla, and had a far defter touch than people give him credit for. Waggy, being the great individual he was, stole a lot of the limelight from Chris, to be quite honest. If Wag hadn't been on the same side as Chilla would have got a lot more credit than he actually got. People in later years started to realise what a great player Chilla was. He had his own deftness, a touching skill, was a very good player with his back to the goal, accepting the ball, knocking it off and moving again. A lot of present day players can't do that. And in there, tremendous in there. And took a lot of the weight off Waggy as the big fella up front. They were, as a pair, they were terrific. He was a terrific foil for him.
Did Chris stand out as a young boy?
Yes, he always did.
There was never any doubt that he'd make it?
No, from joining the club as a lad. I mean, he wasn't that old when he made his debut in the first team, because he didn't spend long in the reserves. Very short time in the reserves, taking him straight at the first team, on merit, on sheer merit alone. He was so outstanding that it was obvious he was going to be a player. He finished up with back trouble, which curtailed his career a bit to finish up. But yes, in his own right, was a great player as well.
Well, they were so very good. I mean, I remember Pat Crerand once saying he thought there was a time when they were the best pair of strikers in the league, in any division. But they seemed to have a marvellous understanding, the one with the other. They were both very different. One was right-sided, and Waggy was sort of left-footed, wasn't he? Yes. So I remember I said to Chris once, I said, do you ever kick with your left foot? He said, no, Tom, that's just a stander.
Right. How do you think they did complement each other? Because they did play tremendously well as a pair.
Well, they both were brain, you know, they had a good brain, you know, they were very clever at letting the ball go to the other one. And they'd often score from the other one's pass. I remember that happened at Watford. They got one each, with an assist each, if you see what I mean. And I was in the box at Watford. I remember jumping in the air like that, and I realised I was surrounded by the enemy, so I sat down very quickly.
They did. Did you feel sort of privileged about that fact? Or was it hard to believe?
It was hard to believe, and I think the privilege was that they stayed for so long. I mean, Chris stayed virtually for the whole of his career. I know he went to Coventry and so on, but virtually played out his career. Ken did the same. And I thought that was terrific, because we've had, you know, bright youngsters come through, Stuart Pearce and Brian Marwood, and I mean, professionally, being very cold and professional about it, I think both Ken and Chris would have done themselves a favour by moving on. And, I mean, you must ask them yourselves exactly why they didn't. And, I mean, it is a brutal fact of life that you don't make any money in the game by staying loyal to one club. And that's something that the game has to look at. That's a problem the game has. And it happens at every level. I mean, when, you know, the Aston Villas and the Tottenham Hotspurs can't hang on to their top players because Europe beckons, and that's a reality we all have to live with, or they all have to live with. So it is a huge compliment. Yes, I was thrilled because I was living in Hull through all that period, and it was terrific to have a team that other people knew about.
Well, Chris obviously was a very, very powerful player, you know. I mean, he could run, and you know, he'd run all day for you. You know, he did a lot of running for me, you know, I suppose, in them days. But, you know, I mean, to sum him up really is that if we had a corner and the ball come across, and he'd go where I maybe not would have gone, you know. I mean, he'd go in with people and he'd dive in and head the ball and get cuts and stitches, and, you know, and he'd come off the post and I'd roll it in. But you see, I would get the recognition because I put it in the net. But I mean, he did you know, he was a very powerful and a very, very brave player. One of the best players I've ever seen as a centre forward. I don't think there'll ever be another one like him at Hull City. When I came to Hull, as I say, when we played away, we always stayed together, and you know, I don't know why I slept with him all that while really, because he snored a hell of a lot. And funny enough, when we, as I say, when we went away, we never, very rarely we discussed the opposition. And no, we got on very well from the beginning, I think. I mean, it just happens, doesn't it? It's just one of those things where I came, and I think my debut was against Exeter City. I think Chris flicked the ball on and I scored, and it was ever from that day. And obviously when you're together in the gym morning and afternoon, it just, you know, people can't say what happens. I mean, it's like other partnerships that have gone on in football. It just happened like that. Got the ball. So I remember one day we was in the gym and was practicing a free kick from like 40 yards out on the right, and we'd been doing it for about an hour till we got it right. Then all of a sudden we heard somebody going around the gym going, "Woo, woo, woo," and Cliff's hat come on. He said, "What's going on?" He said, Chillo said, "Well, all I am for this team is a decoy." And, you know, that was the sort of player he was. He would do that continuously, Chris.
As Ken and Chris would be the first to admit, Hull City was a team in the true sense of the word, and they wouldn't have been so successful but for the help of their teammates. Andy, you came all the way down from Scotland to join Hull City, but how did that move come about all those years ago?
Well, it happened through my brother, actually. My brother played with Hull City in 1946, just after the club reopened after the Second World War. And he brought me down for a trial in February of 47, and that's how the move come about. I signed in 47.
I mean, Andy Davidson was Hull City, wasn't he, in those days? I mean, I know even prior to Ken and Ian and the other Ken out and coming to the club, I mean, I was just a youngster in those early years, and Andy was the guy who, he was like the father figure, and he looked after us, and Andy was so determined. I mean, to be quite honest, you dared not give 100% when you played football, because Andy would see through you, and he wasn't shy about letting people know at the half-time period or even after the game. But that was total commitment by Andy Davidson. And if you wanted to learn from his ideals of the game, Andy wasn't a cultured player. He'll be the first one to admit that. But as a captain and as a motivator and as a guy who led by example, there was second to none.
Ken and Chris were such good players with a good reputation. It was inevitable that other players might go after them in games, and I think this happened on more than one occasion.
Yes, which was quite common in the game in those days. The star players have always had to it. And to be honest, being the senior player of the club, the only way I could help them out was to take the same action against opposition. And I used to say to the opposite players, if it happens to our front runners, it'll happen to yours. So you better tell your central defenders to leave them alone, or there'll be casualties at this end. And usually a quiet word had the effect that was desired, without having to do anything about it.
Were there any instances though when things did cut up a bit rough?
Yes, there was in one particular occasion that it just come in the side of the lad Chris, and the centre half was being more than naughty. He was abusing the lad, to be quite honest. Perhaps I shouldn't have done it, but I had to take action on that occasion. I wasn't proud of it, but I had to stop the lad being abused, to be quite honest. And I did take action.
The other two major signings made by Cliff Britton to complete that magical Hull forward line were Ken Houghton and Ian Butler. Ken, one of your greatest footballing pals was Ian Butler, and you played together at Rotherham United, so it was no surprise really when Butler joined Hull City that you should follow him very soon afterwards.
I think it was a surprise in a way, because I think we'd both been very happy at Rotherham, and we had a very good side there. And I thought we might, at that particular time, I think in 1960-61, when we both got into the side, I thought we could get promotion to the First Division, but a good side. But it didn't materialise over the period because you start selling players, bringing players in, and it didn't materialise. But I thought the 1964-65 season, we had a great chance. And I think really what upset myself and Ian Butler at the time is that Rotherham had promised that they didn't want us to go, and then really behind us backs we were sold to Hull City. But in a way that turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I can't really speak for Ian, but I know Ian was very happy at Hull City, but for myself it was great, you know.
So the move to Boothray Park then was a move that you weren't particularly bothered about at the time?
Oh,
It came straight out of the blue?
Oh, I was a Rotherham lad, very happy to play with him. Magic crowd, real family club, magic. And I got a phone call one Tuesday night from Danny Williams, who was the manager at the time, and said that Cliff Britton of Hull City wanted to speak to me. I mean, to be fair, I knew Cliff Britton, I knew Hull City, but I thought, well, what do they want to speak to me about? And it took me through the Wednesday morning, and I spoke to Cliff Britton for about 3/4 of an hour, and he convinced me that Hull City were going places.
Ken Houghton, a great schemer.
Yes, when they bought Ken, I never met Ken, and he was getting on a bit in years, I think, when he came to Hull City. I think he was about 34, I think. But Ken was the passer of the ball, he was, he could pass the ball 40 or 50 yards, and he was so direct, and as I say, he was that was his asset. His main asset was his passing of the ball, and obviously he was one of the hardest shots I ever saw as well, Ken. He could hit a ball and hit it through, and he scored quite a lot of goals. As I say, he was a very powerful striker of the ball. I remember playing at Norwich, and the ball came out about 25 yards out, and he hit it on the volley, and before Kevin Keelan moved, the ball was back at the halfway line. And that's how hard he could hit them.
Cliff Britton was in charge at Boothray Park during that successful period of the 60s, and he had his own unique style of management.
I mean, when Chris was captain of Hull City, we got a bit fed up, so we sent him in one day, said to get us a rise, you see. So it was about 11 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock he hadn't come out. So when he come out, we said to Chris, have we got a rise? He said, I don't know. He said, Cliff got his table tennis board, whatever they call them, the tiddlywink board out, and he was talking to him about football all afternoon. We were sat there 4 hours. So we never bothered. I mean, that's the sort of man he was. As soon as you go in, he'd have a board with red and green tiddlywinks, and he'd have us playing moves, and so we just forgot about it.
Yeah, Cliff Britton actually his authority and his ruling of the situation within the ground from the management side is probably expressed as well by the chairman at that time, Mr. Harold Needler. Even had to have permission to come into the dressing room, and this was on Cliff's authority, and that showed the power of the man. But as far as from Harold Needler's point of view, I mean, he was basically the instigator of Hull City at that time, because he put the money where his mouth was, and he was the guy who actually backed the buy-in of Ken Houghton and Ian Butler, and he gave Cliff that tremendous opportunity. I mean, and if it hadn't have been for Mr. Needler, then that would never have happened. And I even feel today that the involvement of the Needler family, even now, I know Mrs. Needler still is a staunch Hull City fan, plus the family, and they have been for, obviously, for a lot of years.
Let's rejoin Ken and Chris as they relive some of the more humorous moments from their time together at Hull City.
King's Cross Station, and it was like somebody had shouted that there was a bomb on the bus, because as soon as it pulled up in King's Cross, players would be shooting here, there and everywhere to go around the corner to the nearest pub to get a couple of pints down the neck, because we had a train journey home and we weren't allowed to drink. We could drink cold drinks, but we weren't allowed any alcohol, you know. So, and even then, when we got back to Hull,
We went now. The train got back at 20 to 11.
no, 27 minutes
27
past 10.
minutes past 10.
27 minutes past 10,
We
and
should
I
knock Cliff over.
I used to have a mate of mine who had a little pub just in the town centre there, and I used to say, he's keeping open for us, you know what I mean? And there's be 4 of us jumping in a car,
We shouldn't be saying that.
and we'd
no,
fly around
being
there.
a publican. We think
Oh,
I'm
well,
doing
that's-
overtime.
But we would. We'd go and get a couple
Yeah.
of beers, you know. And good news. There was the time, Ken, can you remember when we played at Derby and we played a night game? But Cliff Britton loved his food, you know, and he would, if he could organise a meal, he would organise a meal. I mean, and we always stayed at the best place.
places, yeah.
And on our way back from Derby, we stayed at this, and it was like a country club, you know, with all the oak panelled walls and everything. And of course, we weren't allowed to drink, you see. We weren't allowed to drink after the game. Soft drinks, yeah, but no alcohol. So we got into this country club, and it's one of those, there's sort of smoking rooms here, and there's this room there, and I said to him, come on, let's get in here. And we popped into this little room, closed the door,
It was a cellar, wasn't it?
rang the bell, like, waiter comes, could he have 4 pints, please? It was doubling up, like, I was paying, as usual.
Well,
And,
you're the only one with money, being the captain, weren't you?
so anyhow, we sat there and we sort of gagging a little bit. The next thing, the door opens and you could hear it, and it was Cliff. Oh, and his face went red, white, blue, and he grimaced at us, and then he slammed the door
back, yeah.
and that was it. He left it at that until the next day after next, because we had the following day.
He must have been.
And then
he
he
must have known
dragged
you
us
had a
in.
drink, didn't you? But I mean, you would have never thought he'd have found you in there, because
No,
I mean,
we were
he would
so
only
out
just get
the
me, and
way.
you went the door, wasn't
That's
it?
right.
He was very strict like
You
that.
didn't have
He
it.
was also very strict about the pitch as well, wasn't he? Apart from actually playing matches, you couldn't go on the pitch.
Oh no, we weren't allowed on the pitch.
No, that was sacred in the pitch. You know.
I remember when Stan, the groundsman, God rest him, was a lovely man, wasn't he?
Yes.
Stan Combs. And we used to go on there, and Cliff come one Friday, he said, look, I've got permission. This is how Cliff was, you know, he said, I've got permission to go on the football ground. Because his players and his gym and his ground was his domain, but the football ground was Stan's. So he got permission to go on the ground this Friday dinner, and Stan was painting between the goalposts, and I heard him say, 5 minutes, Cliff, that's all you're having on the pitch, because I've got to mark the goal line. So he went for a cup of tea. He come back, and as he was walking down, we heard Stan shouting something. One of the lads had been and sat on his whitewash bucket, he had a bit of diarrhea or something, and he'd filled the bucket up. Oh, and Stan went bananas over it. And I think we went allowed on the pitch again for about another month.
That's
Not
right.
characters, really.
Do you know,
But,
there's one little instance sticks with me about Ian Butler, because he'd said he'd stop smoking.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
I mean, and you say that, and every player in the dressing room, you know, oh, Bucksy, stop smoking, like, you know, and he'll never keep that up, and they're having bets whether he'll stop and whether he won't stop. And we walk out the dressing room door, and there's Ian Butler with a cigarette, in his
Cigarette,
mouth, puffing away at a fag. So everybody jumps on him. You know, so it's stopped. I've just lost money. He said, I have, but I'm just practicing for when I start again.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You
It
know,
cost a lot of money in them
The
days.
sense of humour, him. I mean,
He's
he
very dry though, Ian, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, it's a real, you know, there's real characters among them. I mean, but there was also some hard fellas as well, you know. But the humour of it. I mean, I always used to take a bottle of beer away with me to away games on a Friday.
A bottle?
A bottle, yeah, just one or two.
I remember them days you used to have your own apprentice, didn't you?
Yeah, to lift
You
my
know,
bag onto the coach.
One bloke used to be, and he used to, when we were going travelling, we always travelled on a Friday. Cliff loved to travel Friday. We stayed in the best hotels, didn't we?
Yeah.
We had the best food, he said. Well, and I remember the ground staff lad carrying Chris's bag one day onto the bus. I think it was going away for 3 days. And he went to sling it onto the rack, and all these bottles were rattling. And Cliff looked up, he thought, what's in there? He said, oh, it's just some rubbing nose my mum sent for me.
Yeah, rub it on.
We was going
Full
away
of beer.
Full of beer.
Full of beer.
We were going away for Christmas, yeah.
Well, I think there was a friend of ours, and he's a friend of yours as well, and he said to me the difference in those days was that there was a great expectancy
Yes, that's
when the team played. And when the ball went into forward positions, there was a great and everybody, he said, people were just literally dragged up out the seats because of this expectancy.
Yeah.
He said, because we expected you to score every time you went up the field. And if the fella in front stood up expecting it, the fella behind him had to because he wanted to see.
Yeah.
And he said everybody in the stand used to literally stand up. He said it might just be a corner kick. But he said they always expected that you were going to score. And he said at the end of 90 minutes, he said the crowd was...
We've heard some of City's great names talking about the magic of Waggy and Chillo, so let's see for ourselves just how explosive they could be.
Chilton, Henderson. Wagstaff with a nice chance now on the edge of the box. Back to Simpkin, shoots, and it's there! Simpkin the scorer, but poor goalkeeper Laurie Leslie must feel very rueful about that.
Now Chilton back behind the attack. Wagstaff on the right wing. Over it comes to Wagstaff. Wagstaff for once away from Carilla, and that's Houghton. It's a good one. Great shot by Ken Houghton. 2-2. Well, that's the kind of stuff that Hull can produce. They've gone forward to great skill.
And now Ted Hemsley with one man going forward, but nobody in that particular spot. Houghton. No handball again, says Mr. Walker. And here comes Wagstaff with a chance. Out comes Hodgkinson. A great goal. A great goal. A fine goal from Wagstaff. Another good ball from Rees and covered by Simpkin. But Sheffield United get it back. This is Curry. There's nobody on the right. They've got to keep it on the left. And keeping it too short, give it to Hull. Houghton coming forward strongly. Jarvis to Simpkin, with Chilton out on his right. This is Chilton, chance for a run and a cross with Butler and Wagstaff coming into the middle. This is Wagstaff. There it is. A great goal, a superb movement. Absolutely fluent, no trouble at all. Number 2 for Ken Wagstaff, number 2 for Hull City.
Butler, the winger, well back in defence, back to Wilkinson. Everybody marked at the moment except Wagstaff in the inside left position, but it's Chilton who's going for this. Outside right would be a good ball now, but he's putting it forward to Simpkin. And onto it comes Henderson. Chance here. Over, this could be a chance for Wagstaff. It's a goal.
Banks, Simpkin, Houghton, nobody in the middle, but Wagstaff chasing into the penalty area. Oh!
Wagstaff and Blore. Blore getting it. Simpkin in so hard. Here's the man for a cup tie. Here's Houghton. Now Wagstaff here. Wagstaff with a chance. It's there. Frank Banks. Houghton coming off his man well to help him. Up for Wagstaff. Blore getting up. Chilton coming to it. Wagstaff going through now. Wagstaff with a chance. Burrows for Conroy. Now Conroy with a chance. Out comes McKechnie. Conroy to score. Blore, Ritchie and Smith over that far side. Out comes McKechnie. Just punched away. Here's Burrows. Throw only. Terry Conroy with a bit of space, and here's Ritchie. Past Banks. Nice acceleration for speed for a 35-year-old. There goes Eastham, a beautiful chip to Ritchie. Out comes McKechnie. It's a good chip. And it's a fine goal from Greenough. Eastham calling for it on the left. The man who made that goal. And he's got support on his left from Pajic. Looking again for Greenough. Greenough trying one. Oh, what a goal! And there's a lot of space there for Marsh. He's got Conroy on his right. Offside is the claim, but he's allowed to go on. It's Conroy with a chance at number 3. Now Eastham, a little bit unlucky not to get that back to Dobing first time. And a beautiful through ball for Wagstaff. He's got a chance now. He's against Banks. Oh, no trouble. Marsh going past McGill. Greenough, is he onside or offside? He's put onside by, and Ritchie to make it. He's put onside by an injured player, and the goal is given. McKechnie with that lethal left foot of his. Banks. Wagstaff. Simpkin. Simpkin still with a break. You've got Houghton and Butler coming in onto the far post, and Chilton on the far post. There's Chilton. What a great goal. Chris Chilton worked his position beautifully, nodded it into the back of the net, no effort at all. Banks. Bolton pushing right the way back now. The game's a bit tied up, difficult to get through here. Wagstaff. Banks. Lord. Rimmer getting in trouble there. Butler. Chilton. Good attempt by Wagstaff. What a flick. What a great flick by Ken Wagstaff. Only half a control again. Chilton now. With 4 men in the middle. One of them Wagstaff. Butler! Well worked. Well, that's a goal for Ian Butler. The cross from Chilton. And the game now. 1 goal each. Nicholson. Greenwood. Chilton out on the right. Simpkin inside. Chilton beating 2 men, going like a steam engine, playing well. Out on the left to Butler, if he can keep it in. Inside is Wagstaff. Now Butler. Welcome to Chilton! Ken Houghton with a lovely goal from Houghton. Racing him from the right. Chilton almost got his foot to it as it went over, but it hit the post and into the net. A lovely goal by Houghton. Cut out by Greenwood. Now Simpkin. Looking for Chilton, and it's a great ball. Chris Chilton! It's a goal! Chris Chilton, what a goal. He was through his legs. Wonderfully taken by Chris Chilton. A great through. Greenwood, too strong though with a header. But Chilton now with a chance to break through. Can he get a shot in? Oh, what a good one!
And a chance for Chilton. It's there. It's there. The goal. A mistake by the left defence. And
Simpkin.
And Roy, what a goal! Houghton! What a sensational goal by Houghton! He hit that one first time on his left foot. Chilton getting up. Houghton. A goal! Butler, what a wonderful bit of cohesion. Chilton a header, Houghton a header, and Butler a header. A wonderful trio of headers there, and the ball finishing in the back of the net from Ian Butler.
Frank Banks. Butler, Banks again. It's a Good ball there to Paddy Greenwood. Greenwood goes past Canning and a chance to pull one back. Wagstaff coming towards the near post. At the far post is Chilton. Here's Butler. Goal kicks this half. Simpkin to Wagstaff. Simpkin again, looking for Butler. It's a fine ball, with Chilton pushing over now to the far post, but coming back again to the near one. Wagstaff. Wagstaff certainly doing some good running around at the sharp end. Now Greenwood. Simpkin here. There's Chilton up against Shipley, but Simpkins come across to help him. So many free men now for Hull. Out comes Charlie Wright. Ken Houghton again. And Houghton the scorer. Charlie Wright pushing off Ken Wagstaff. Time for Chilton to turn, a surprising amount of space, and Chilton going forward for the return from Wagstaff, trying to set up Wagstaff. Now Chilton, is he onside? There's the goal. It's a goal. The one or two Sunderland players expecting that the flag was going to go up and the whistle was going to go, but past him. Oh, beautiful play by Wagstaff, sending it off to Greenwood. Oh, what an error again! And how did Butler miss that one? And Greenwood and Chilton. Wagstaff really must be fuming about that. Set the whole thing up for two players at least. There's Butler though. Chilton. What a goal! Same as we have seen him, he's taken one or two nasty knocks, obviously slowed him down quite a bit, but Wagstaff here. Shielding the ball as he usually does in that situation. Greenwood now going across the face of the area, setting up Simpkin. Now Butler. He's offside. Play on, says the referee. He's discounted the linesman's flag. Up goes Chilton. A hat-trick. A hat-trick for Chilton after the Sunderland players had stopped. Right flank. Square here is Malone, but that was meant for Porterfield in the middle. And now De Vries, the fullback, got a chance to break with Wagstaff over on the far side. And Chilton pulled back on the edge of the area. Now Chilton for number 4. Oh, Wagstaff! Wagstaff has done it. De Vries to Wilkinson here. Wagstaff calling for a long one up front, but it's not a good one at all, and Peter Gelston gets there. Not a good kick from him, and here's Houghton now. Houghton going past one man, finding Wagstaff. Wagstaff turning well, setting up Chilton. Number 5, Terry Neal, right on the goal mouth there. Ian Butler with the in-swinger. Chilton coming towards the near post. It's there! Chilton! Chris Simpkin. Butler coming off his man. Chilton coming down there. Now Simpkin. Wagstaff's the only one here. Wagstaff! It's got it, but he should never have got that one. This is Eric McMorley, the Irish international. Flicks it out to Jones, the former captain before Styles came. That was meant for Hickton, but well cut out by Banks. Now Hickton gets another attempt with Mills just inside him. This is Mills. Hickton coming again. He did well to lay it off. Downing's on this far post. Mills gets up. Oh, it's a great one. Pearson and Bohm going over to the far post for this chip over from McGill. There's John Kay. It's there. John Kay coming forward and calling for it and getting it. And patched down to Pearson. Pearson coming in hard on this one. There it is. Stuart Pearson, his strength told there, but he kept his head at the last second and made it look so easy.
Very, very tight, and does it well to get away, but there's McGill in there with one of his destructive tackles. Now Downing, Mills going forward again, Mills here on the wrong side, and what a shot! My word, what a tremendous shot from Mills! Jones to Styles. There goes Hickton down that left flank. That's Hickton. McMordy is square here. That's McMordy. Madron and Craggs going on the right. Madron gets up with Kay. Comes to Craggs. Craggs got the chance to pull one back. Oh, it's there! Now he scores! What a tremendous goal! What a game this is turning out to be! McGill then to Wagstaff. Pearson in the middle, but it's a good ball here for Banks. What a beautiful movement. Left completely open. And Banks makes it look absolutely simple. So Bohm taking up his position there with the rest of the Middlesbrough defence. John Kay coming up fairly sedately into the penalty area. Butler's in-swinger. Goalkeeper Platt hasn't looked too secure on these, and there's another one! And blow me if it's not that man Kay again! Here's Butler now with Hull City really putting the pressure on. Out comes Glazier. Touched away, but here's Malcolm Lord. Can he get a shot in? Prefers to set up Banks. Here's Frank Banks with a chance! Oh, in the post! He's there! Wagstaff! Banks, what a great run! Wagstaff to put it in. And Hull City are doing the impossible. They are ahead. Bill Baxter. Malcolm Lord free on the right there, but it's one to make Wagstaff go. And Wagstaff doing well to hook it in. It's a brilliant one. Pearson gets up. It's there. It's a goal, and what a brilliant piece of play by Wagstaff. Richardson's the foul man. Cross, a difficult man in the air, but what a bad kick. Kick there full of absolutely no confidence at all. Another fairly poor one into the middle. Way by Wilkinson. It's Pearson now. The chase has got a clear opening. Goalkeeper Miller in two minds whether to come or not. And that's it. Left, completely clear. And Pearson makes absolutely no doubt about that one. Now De Vries with Wagstaff backing on to the far post, looking for the big cross he hopes of. Pearson going towards the near post. Out comes Miller. He misses it. Wagstaff's there. And a blatant error by Peter Miller leaves Wagstaff a fairly simple opening, but Miller badly at fault there. And certainly another defeat. Terry Neal with a kick. Wagstaff going up for it with Horn. Butler. Wagstaff! And again, this inability of the Fulham defence to get the ball away, and the ability of fellas like Wagstaff to punish them for it. So Wagstaff second of the game, and 4-0 now on a thoroughly dejected Fulham.
Butler. Oh, a good one, a great goal. A really good goal for Hull City. Well, a low cross there. In the 36th minute, Chilton's made amends for that good chance he missed earlier on with that great header. Not only that, he did it with his shoe undone. Well, a second chance. Simpkin. That's the goalkeeper's ball. Only just. Billy Legg. Chilton. Oh, a chance for Huddersfield Town to do something here. Free kick. There it goes, a good one. But Hull giving nothing away, and Wagstaff. Billy Legg sold himself there. Chance! And that's another one. Huddersfield have fallen for the same trick twice. A low ball at the near post, and there was Chilton again to side foot that in. Two well thought goals by Hull City. That one in the 42nd minute. The score is now Hull City 2, Huddersfield 0, but it's not their day. Wagstaff. Simpkin. Oh, he's got it back, a chance. And that's it. That's the third. That's nailed a coffin lid on Huddersfield Town. Number 10. David Lill hammered that home. And that was in the 73rd minute of the game. That makes it a very decisive looking score for Hull City. 3-0. The home team really having a suffering afternoon.
To get rid of it quickly because De Vries was coming in hard. Kay to Butler. Holm. Now Pearson. Stevenson runs into him. And off of Stevenson. So Butler to take it. Pearson in the goal area. Terry Neal come up. Up goes Neal. And it's out. And it's that man again, Phil Holm. Well, the incredible fellow. Wilson, the fullback, looking for Reynolds, too strong, and there's Neal. Good ball to Ken Houghton and a nice touch to Knighton. Now Roger De Vries, who had a shin injury, back in the side now. Pearson lets it go. Beautiful move, and Houghton touches the side too. Oh, that's a good shot, a good move with Ken Knighton almost putting the finishing touches. And a little bit of panic here in the Portsmouth defence, and understandably so. Things not going for them at the moment. And behind, away from home to an early goal. Just the worst sort of start you could hope for. Stevenson gets a leg to it. Houghton. Peter Price misjudges it, and it's John Kay with the second attempt. Butler coming for it. Here's Pearson now with a good chance. Oh, he's messed it up, but it's still there. Well, it looked as if Monks had got back at him. Right-hand side, but he chooses Reynolds. Peter Price on the far post. Meant for him, but not a good cross. And a lot of space here for McGill. Butler on the left. Looking for Knighton. A lot of good running here by Hull City. Cut out by Alan Stevenson. And here's Piper. That one cut out by De Vries, who read that one way back. Banks is out there on the right-back position. Looking for Pearson and Holm. Up goes Pearson. Well, it was a good one. It was a lovely flighted cross from Banks. Here's McGill. De Vries coming in to Butler. De Vries wanting the return, but that was closed up. Behind Butler is Kay, but this is Holm. Trying the chip for Pearson, surely pushed in the area. Play waved on, says the nothing going to the referee. into Holmes' path from De Vries. Here's Pearson. And another error at the back by Portsmouth, and another goal by Pearson. Piper now. Play on, says the referee. And here's Pearson in, surely with a chance of getting number 4 for him. What a great shot!
We hope that this video has given you some idea about what it was like to be a Hull City supporter in the 60s and early 70s. They really were fantastic times. Golden